something very unique here today. It's a pleasure to introduce the Anti-Violence Against Women Act. But I can guarantee you what we have here is exquisite. It's something that is very unique, and the reason we're having this particular forum in parallel to the 60th session of the CSW is because we're trying to get the attention of authorities in place. The reason we created AVAWA, which is Anti-Violence Against Women Act, is because all the various acts, all the various laws and treaties, international treaties, the CEDAW, and all those things are not working. They're not working specifically in Africa. I don't think they are actually working in many places around the world. They are very important, they are very useful, but they are sluggish in the fact that African countries, while most of the countries have signed the treaties, and most of them have ratified it, they still cannot domesticate it because it requires extra legislations. This is a very important issue and important things to be mindful of. Now, while we are trying to do politics and people are making their faces by signing these treaties so that you can hold them against the fact that they didn't sign it but not able to implement it, a lot of crime goes unnoticed and is most of them fatal and detrimental to the development of Africa as a continent and nations in Africa.
And let me introduce myself. My name is Raulat Adenike Akobiade, but you can just call me Nikki. I'm also the host of Family and Social Life in a Nutshell. It's a program that is produced by African Views, but I do that from the United Kingdom. So I'm a psychosocial researcher, a counselor, a person-centered counselor, because we have different types of counseling, so I have to clarify that. So, and I'm also the founder of Raoul Nike Foundation. Raoul Nike Foundation is a foundation that raises awareness about any forms of abuse on children and women especially. And I believe this is one of the reasons why we are here today as women. So, and I also want to especially thank all the men that are with us today, because you can tell that they are very interested in empowering us.
A great good evening to all the panelists. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you and share this platform. I want to go straight away to the point, because I'm sure that I will speak much deeper and in a better way about what's going on here. Because I feel that there's a sort of fashion going on, like SDG, MDG, PPG, TTG, I don't know all this word, what does it mean. And when you talk with somebody, you come with this, oh yes, I'm following SDG, and the, please, let's have a more relation, between human beings, because there are issues, but they don't need to be loved. There's too many laws, I'm telling you. You talk about UN, there are too many. And just because we are not able to take action, which are essential and simple, we keep making law. And this is the game. You want to teach us a lesson? Take action. Go in an emotional strike. Let us understand that without you we are nothing, and vice versa. This is the only way that you can do it. It has not to be a war, it has to be an emotional strike. To understand what does it mean to be isolated. Sorry, I talk in this way because I don't say unfortunately, I say maybe God has given me this gift. I have been abused when I was young by a priest. That let me understand what in certain way you woman you feel when you are abused. Of course I don't want to compare, please. I know it is completely different, but the biology is similar. And the emotion, the emotions are the same. So, as a man, I've seen my mother being abused by my father. So I know what does it mean. I remember when I was young, I was dragged by him, trying to stop him. And he was dragging me life. So I was trying to understand what is causing this. Education, you are right. But not education only as an institution. To understand before our biology, how we work. We are biomachines. Don't get me wrong, doesn't mean in the wrong way. But we are biomachine, we have certain mechanisms which are similar but different. If we understand properly how man works in the biology and how women work, we will be more delicate. There are a lot of boys on my age, men, they don't know how. They don't know how to treat them because they don't know. Because our instinct is different. Our biology is different. If somebody doesn't teach us how it works, how to be delicate, how to respect, we will do the same thing again and again. You can put rules, you can put education in the school, but if you don't understand how we work to respect each other, it's not going to happen. Law, we call again law, it becomes speculation. I told you, SDG, MDG, PPG, TTG, I don't know how many G will come. And this is just a game, speculation. Because then generally there's some money. All what you people you do, creating all this, generates money for the speculative governmental system. Stop this. Take action silently. As I told you, as you know, you don't need any empowerment. You have already it. Just apply it. Don't wait. Really, with my heart I tell you, you don't have to wait. You take action and put us under emotional pressure. Then you will see. Then we will come to know what we can do without women or not. This is the only way. So, you remember Gandhi, what he was doing? He has defeated the UK, the United Kingdom power. How? With a strike, hunger strike. I'm saying not just strike. We don't need it. We don't deserve even that you have to go in strike because of us, but emotional one. Global. Has to be all the women in once. Let's see if they. Let's see if we men we hear it. Please do it. Thank you. Sorry I have to go.
Well, good evening, and I want to thank Wale and his group for inviting me to come and speak to you all this evening, and I want to thank you all also for coming out. You know, I'm sure you have other things to do, but you felt it is important for you all to be here. So I want to say thank you to every man and every woman that is here tonight to listen to us. Now, my name is Dr. Francisca Nkadi, and I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm an adjunct professor at Colorado State University Global Campus. I teach ethics, strategy, leadership, and all this good stuff. So, violence against women? Why is it important? Now, according to General Ban Ki-moon, he released a depressing news report that showed that 35% of women worldwide, that is 1 in every woman, have experienced some sort of violence in her lifetime. The report also found that in 10 girls under the age of 18 was forced to have sex. Out of every 3 women worldwide will be physically, sexually, or otherwise abused during her lifetime, with rates reaching up to 70% in some countries. And when we say some countries, we're not talking about Africa, we're talking about India, we're talking about Pakistan. And you all please forgive me because it gets so emotional, and I can feel the hearts of these women. Cases like women that are in the box and there's no way to get out. So you can just imagine the hearts, the pains, and what these little girls and what these women are going through. Globally, 35% of women experience sexual or physical violence, and this is according to WHO. Each year, 3 million girls face the risk of female genital mutilation or cutting, and this is according to UNFA. 60% of women whose first sexual experience was forced to go on experience further sexual violence later on in life, and this is according to UNFA. Now, this is the reason why this really matters. Women's rights, or rather, women's human rights should be taken seriously. It is not. We have all kinds of human rights. They take them seriously, but when it comes to the women, it is not. Although there is an international agreement among nations, but the denial of the lowest human rights is persistently and is widespread. So in my area, I'm actually talking to the leaders. It seems that the leaders of the nations are not taking this seriously. And I believe that if our leaders globally now, I'm not just talking about a particular country, but I know we are focusing on Africa, but if the United States would take this seriously and don't make it all about politics, but about women and human rights, I honestly believe that other nations, especially Africa, will do something. In conclusion, according to General William Booth, he says, you cannot improve the future without disturbing the present. Thank you all for listening.
Good evening, and thank you. Thank you to AVAWA for inviting me to participate on this very esteemed panel of conversationalists. I'm particularly pleased to be here to be talking about this subject because I have been, as was mentioned, working on the issue of violence against women for some time in Trinidad and Tobago, but also in my life in the United States as well. More recently, like for the past 2.5 to 3 years, I was working on a UN-sponsored program in Trinidad and Tobago around women's economic and political empowerment. And it always shocked me to see women who consider themselves politically and economically empowered still unable to empower themselves to get out of domestic violence situations. So this is something that I think is important for us to talk about in terms of how we see it and how it can be addressed. I'm going to take us through a brief description. Domestic violence and what it is. It's a physical, sexual, emotional, and psychological and or financial abuse committed by a person against a spouse, a child, or any other member of the household or dependent. And the section, I'm sorry, I'm going to also take it from a Caribbean perspective, specifically Trinidad and Tobago. Under Section 4 of the Domestic Violence Act, in Trinidad and Tobago, we do have an act. The governing law, which is the governing law on domestic violence, the main remedy for domestic violence is a protection order. And what is that? A protection order may be granted once an application is made against the person committing the act of violence, which is usually referred to as the respondent, and the person who makes the application can be the spouse, a member of the household, etc. A magistrate has the authority under the Section 5 of the Act to grant the order when the court is satisfied that the respondent is committing or has the propensity to commit domestic violence. I read this to suggest that while we may have laws in place, these laws oftentimes have loopholes. I want to stress one more thing, which I think is extremely important, and that is the review of how religion supports violence against women in our society. That is something that is really taboo in Trinidad and Tobago because we are a multicultural, multi-religious society. However, the religion aspect of our society has a very strong voice, and oftentimes we have found that our approaches to religion almost support women in a more of a compliant role, and in some cases outright support violence against women. So we need to look at that, and we need to look at our CEDAW, and our countries that have not already ratified it need to be ratified in CEDAW, and taking it one step further, because to sign on to the convention again is just doing what is necessary to be a part of, and said yes, we are obeying the rules, we are playing the game and everybody is doing everything we're supposed to be doing, implementing the laws that comes under, the acts that comes under CEDAW is what's important. The last thing I'm going to say is it's not up to the government or our political leaders or our NGOs or our citizens or our boys or our men to make these change. It's up to all of us to make the change. We have to hold our elected officials responsible. We have to hold ourselves responsible. And I think when we all come together at the table and work together, we will be able to impact domestic violence. Thank you.
June 19, 2014, 4 a.m. Auntie Buki, this is Rashida. I just want to let you know that yesterday died this past Sunday. Please call me. I played back the message over. I was shocked and confused. Yesterday is my niece, my brother's youngest daughter. What could have happened, I pondered. Was she giving birth? Was it an auto accident? Did someone kill her? I was now alert, sitting up straight in my bed. I called my younger sister back and didn't get through. I called all my other siblings. No one answered. I called repeatedly for over an hour, but no one answered the phone. Finally, my older sister picked up. She sounded as if she was expecting my call. What happened to Yetunde? I asked calmly. It wasn't Yetunde, it was Bimbo, she replied. Her husband had been beating her for a while, she said. I believe that had something to do with her death, but I'm not sure. I felt a big lump in my throat. Couldn't breathe for a quick second. I was so livid and wanted to yell, but couldn't find my voice. I couldn't believe what my sister was telling me, that she suspected that our niece was beaten to death by her husband, and she didn't bother to investigate. I was furious. But she's the oldest. She's supposed to have all the answers. I started sobbing. I hung up. I called Rashida again, my younger sister, who left a message in my voicemail. She picked up. What happened to Rashida? I demanded. To be brother, I demanded. Okwe, meaning in Yoruba, the husband beat her to death. She was 7 months pregnant, and we rushed her to Gurudu General Hospital last Sunday. She died shortly after we arrived at the hospital. My niece, Abimbola, 7 months pregnant and dead at the prime age of 24, was the latest victim of domestic violence orgy in Nigeria. The madness of violence against Nigerian girls and women has to stop. All forms of violence against women everywhere in the world must stop. Thank you for listening. So this is the first time I actually read this and not cried. So I've been reading this for a while. So I have just decided to just make this my testimony, to speak on my niece's behalf everywhere I go. But she couldn't speak for herself. And the husband is still walking around somewhere. No one is actually accused him of doing anything, right? My brother, my immediate brother, the one before me, there is nowhere in his DNA or his wife's DNA to process what happened to their daughter. I don't want to say they refuse to accept that she was beaten to death, they just can't even process it, right? So the neighbors, they had another child before she died, another 2-year-old. So this 2-year-old was crying, endlessly. So the neighbor finally went to the door to find out, why is this child crying? Why is no one, what's going on? And they got to the door. They couldn't really open the door. I guess if they tried to open the door, they would, try to come out. So they forced the door open and found my niece lying there, almost dead. That's how they described the situation. So her husband had left. So I later on summated that he must have left knowing that she was going to die, and he really didn't know what to do, and he just ran. Up to date, he never came back to that home. The neighbors were looking to really kill him. He never came back. So I feel that violence against women, it's not only a human rights violation, It's a civil rights violation. It's a violation of any form. And we're all responsible. Everyone in this room, everyone in this world is responsible. Whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. And I would want to agree with what Madeleine Albright, the former Secretary General. Madeleine Albright has this phrase that there is a special place in hell for a woman that doesn't elevate other women. You can check it out. That was a phrase, and I totally support that, right? I mean, so on a serious note, it starts from the home. In the case of my family, which is I talk from personal experience, my niece had no business getting married at the age of 22. My brother is not educated, so he's really poor, if you put it that way. So poverty is not just in terms of money. When you're poor in terms of money, that could be rectified. But when you're poor because you have no information, you lack, you can't process information, you're not able to access information. I think that's the case with my brother. And this is why my niece will be married at the age of 22 in the first place, to someone that you didn't really know. And when I said to my brother was that, back in the village, back in the day, when I was growing up in Nigeria, if you tied a goat to the marketplace and someone came and stole your goat, the village would summon you to the king's palace to have you accountable for the goat missing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I would just like to say thank you to African Views. Thank you, Wale. I am honored to be on this panel with you distinguished and phenomenal women. So, today we're here to talk about peace. Peace for women. What does that look like? Peace for women is the elimination and the prevention of all forms of violence against women and girls. It is women having the right to education, to health, gender equality, political and economic involvement, and the international empowerment of all young women and girls, locally and domestically, as well as internationally. So here today, I'm going to speak about violence against women on a university level. Violence against women is something that is indespicable, unjust, inexcusable, and it is something that needs to be put to an end right now. As we would also be speaking about, we need a call to action. So on a university level, 1 in 4 women will be a victim of sexual assault in their academic career. I have personally had my friend come to me and tell me in one night that she was raped by 2 men. And the university did nothing until now, until the Violence Against Women organization made them hold themselves responsible and hold that man responsible. When I was 5, I saw my aunt get beat brutally, blood spewing from her brain. And that's why I fight the good fight on the institutional level. So the challenges we face as a university, as people. First, we have to shift the cultural norms and values that enable this violence against women, that makes it susceptible for men to feel as though that they can abuse women. On a systemic level, patriarchy must be smashed. We must stop this self-blaming, this slut-shaming. We must come together as women and unite. We also need the help of men to aid and educate and enlighten those around you. On an individual level, women, we must come together. On an institutional level, we must have these institutions such as governments and universities be held responsible. Now we have Title IX. Thankful to Title IX, universities are now held responsible. And due to the hunting ground, which we premiered at our university, now students are aware that there is a system in which you have to be held responsible. In my university, LaSalle University, we have had a multitude of programs, such as the 90 More program, where we've had freshmen come and take an hour course on sexual assault, what it means, what it looks like, how to define it, where to go, where are the resources. We have had the Hunting Ground premiere. We have had a collaboration with the Dart Club to make posters. We have had a collaboration with fraternities and athletes so that they too can educate themselves on sexual prevention. We have had to take back the night so victims can take the power that was taken from them. We partnered with the national campaign, It's On Us Week, and we had a self-defense class for women. We held a forum about language that hurts, language that is derogatory. We had a domestic violence event and a campus-wide survey. We had an app, LaSalle University app, and we added a no more section where victims of violence can now have at their fingertips resources and where to go on how to heal and empower themselves. We did a movie for Campus Movie Fest addressing rape. And we also had a self-love workshop on campus so women can learn to love themselves again. And we have also had women-to-women compliment-grams. In my research, I came across a very powerful quote that said, "What is the greatest lesson a woman should learn? That since day one, she's already had everything she needed within herself. It's the world that's convinced her otherwise." I just want everyone to know that you have the power within yourselves. And through panels like this, and we can bring awareness and raise the consciousness level locally and internationally. I'm very thankful for this forum and all the women here today. And I just want to say that the same way that we have the power to bear life is the same way that we have the power to save life. I think that the solution lies with each and every one of you, and you have the power to make a change. Thank you.
First, I would like to thank you for inviting me to be here. And I wasn't supposed to be here. But suddenly, why do I have in common the African views? I'm from Brazil. 70% of our country population came from Africa. So we are an African country. And I'm fighting for human rights in Brazil for almost 20 years. And for denouncing and fighting, they almost put me in a nut house. It's a straitjacket, using my own kids, and they bought from a psychiatrist saying that my sickness was like, what is a tomato? You know, nothing. That my sickness was progressive, that I have no cure, and they arrived in my house with a straitjacket to try to put me in a hospital for 30 days. So they woke up the lion inside of me. I became a fighter. This gave me more power. So we live in a democracy. Our leaders are elected. We cannot blame this broad and complex challenge in our governments and on the men who run them. And though I say, follow the money. Politicians can postulate all days long about how much they value human life and advancement of all peoples. But what they cannot deny is where they spend their money. And money spent speaks directly to the governments and priorities. My father used to say, just to observe the person, to know a person, where they spend the money and their time. Money and time is preference. So look our leaders, where they spend their money is more than $1.7 trillion in the weapon industry and the war industry. So this is the biggest violence that we can see in the world today. We talk about domestic violence. What about the refugees? That the women are victims of this war. Women and children. They kill the man, they put, and we are the mothers. We're not sitting at the peace table. We don't sit in the war table. We should be there. We are the mothers who give life. They have no rights to take the life of our kids. So we have to decide that. And we are out of the picture. And what the ambassador said, he's completely right. He had to blame on us. Because we educate our children, our men. We have to change this and not blame the government. And what we have to claim is to be part of the weapon industry and get the money, because it's a crime that they do. They are so organized for the war, so much organized, but they are not organized for the refugees or how many victims they make in war. And that's it. And that's my mission, to convince every guys to change their business. Because there's no way we're not going anywhere if you don't realize that we don't have money to move for peace, environment, and violence.